into the sweeteners, you had asked about sugar, and I think you had also said that wouldn't we want to replace, an artificial sweetener with sugar to get sugar out of the diet, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those, if my kids had the chance to drink a Pepsi or drink a Diet Pepsi, I would actually rather them have the sugar, the real sugar, than the diet. So things like aspartame, sucralose, I don't even know how to say that one. Saccharin, sugar alcohols, those are worse. I mean, having too much sugar is not good, but our body knows what to do with real sugar because it's been around forever. Your body doesn't know what to do with something that comes into your mouth and it's sweet. And generally when we have sweet stuff, our body releases insulin to attach to the sugar, and that's how it processes sugar. But when we take something in that is sweet, and really, really sweet, like some of these ones are 200 to 700 times sweeter than table sugar. So our body releases a bunch of insulin, but it has nothing to bind to. And actually, when insulin doesn't have anything to bind to, it turns fat. It's the only thing it can do. Can't leave. And so it's very confusing to the body. And the other thing that some of these artificial sweeteners have been proven to do is to explode brain cells. So they go in, when they cross the blood-brain barrier, and they disrupt the pH, and so they go into the cell can't get rid of it, and so it explodes the cell. And so that's why there's a lot of studies to show that things like aspartame, why they think they're contributing to Alzheimer's and MS, because it's creating so much plaquing.
But it also affects the gut.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
So the gut environment
Yeah.
gets affected, and you get leaky gut out
We
of
could
that.
have made a whole PowerPoint about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
good.
got the brain connection. Yeah. It was hard to fit everything in this
I
little.
know.
Yeah, and so now stevia and monk fruit are also they're not artificial sweeteners, they're natural sweeteners, so our body knows what to do with them, so our body doesn't do the same thing. So those would be ones that you would want to use. Our body, our brain don't do the same thing when they come in contact with those, because they come from a natural plant.
Yeah.
So we don't get this big insulin spike with nothing to do with it. So those are really probably the only two safe, are 0 calorie sweeteners. And then our worst not 0 calorie sweetener is going to be our high fructose corn syrup. You'll also see it in things as maltodextrin.
Yeah.
And so we definitely want to avoid, you guys know, there's no reason to have that much sugar. And so in our house, we try and use as much as we can maple syrup, raw honey, coconut sugar, date sugar. That's what we, as much as we can in recipes, or if we're sweetening, like I like a little sweetener in my coffee every day, so I use maple syrup.
I'd like to speak more on that. So with artificial sweeteners, that's 200 to 700 times sweeter than table sugar. So imagine your kid taking in that type of artificial sweetener in your cereal. Why would they want to eat your eggs and toast if they can get this jolt of energy that lasts about 15, 20 minutes? They act out, they get in trouble, they crash, and then they're hungry about an hour later. So that's what I'm kind of looking at here, is just saying, can we eliminate some of that stuff in their diet? I know they're going to have some of those sweeteners sometimes, but can we eliminate some of those things where they're doing it every single day? Whether they want the cereal, it's always going to be more carbs, I feel like, with people. Kids that have more brain disorders are going to have more problems, or they're going to they're craving more like crunchy things, or like I said, chicken nuggets, breaded kind of things, pizzas. They have a very limited palate because of this 200 to 700 times. Like, the brain is getting affected by that way differently than natural foods are. So the more natural the food, the better for the brain, obviously. What are the next ones?
Well, and I think the other thing we can talk about is just like, we all know sugar's bad. Sugar is the one thing that, converts to fat, and sugar is the thing that makes the brain, you need sugar, you need a little bit, everyone needs a little bit of carbs or sugar. You need something to burn, but it doesn't fuel our brain the way fat and protein does. And so, and our kids know this, we don't actually, we don't cut sugar out of the house, they're kids, like they're gonna burn a lot of it off. but they do know that they have to have so much protein and so much fat at a meal before they do get to
Well,
have.
that is a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't just let them go and like pig out before they eat. Try and get that good protein, good fat, and
Because it
before.
stabilizes their blood sugar.